I wasn't expecting company that afternoon. The sky outside had turned a dull shade of grey, and I was halfway through organizing old recipe cards when I heard a familiar knock on the door. "Grandma," he called Ryan, my grandson, as he stepped inside without waiting for an answer. His voice still had that boyish charm, but deeper now, more confident. He had grown up so quickly. I remember holding him as a baby. Now here he was, taller than his father, with a sharp jawline and thoughtful eyes that always seemed to be reading the room. "I was just in the neighborhood," he said with a crooked smile. "Thought I'd check in." I smiled, setting the cards aside. "Always good to see you, Ryan." We sat in the kitchen, and I brewed us some tea. He talked about school, upcoming projects, and his new internship at a design firm. I listened, fascinated, not just by what he said, but by the ease in his voice. He was becoming his own person, and I hadn't realized how much I'd missed watching that transformation unfold. After tea, I stood up, my joints cracking just slightly. "This old back of mine," I muttered with a soft laugh. I wasn't used to complaining, but age had been settling in lately, subtle but relentless. Ryan looked up from his mug. "Do you want me to help?" I took a sports therapy class last semester, learned some massage techniques. "Just shoulder stuff. Could help a little." I hesitated. "You don't have to." He was already setting his mug aside. "Come on, Grandma. I owe you 100 shoulder rubs at this point after all those cookies you made me growing up." I laughed and sat back in the chair. "Well, when you put it that way." His touch was gentle, professional even. It surprised me. His hands worked carefully over the tight muscles between my shoulder blades, and I found myself relaxing more than I had in weeks. There was something about it, not the massage itself, but the attention. The presence. "Still tense," he murmured with a grin. "You've been overdoing it again." I smiled faintly. "Maybe." As the room fell quiet, I became strangely aware of how still the house was. How it had been still for a long time. "Since your grandfather passed," I thought, but didn't say aloud. Ryan, too, had stopped coming by as much over the past couple of years. Life had taken over. "You ever think," Ryan said after a long pause, "that people grow apart not because they want to, but because life just moves without asking?" I turned slightly. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, his hands stilling. "I don't know. Sometimes I come here and I realize how much I've missed. And I wonder how many moments passed that I didn't even notice." I reached up and patted his hand. "That's not your fault. We all get swept up in things." He pulled the chair next to me. For a moment, we just Saturday. The ticking of the old wall clock filled the silence. "I remember when I was little," he said, "you used to hum when you cooked." I haven't heard that in a while. I blinked, surprised he remembered. "Guess I haven't felt like humming." "Well," he said, "you should. It always made things feel alive." I looked at him, really looked, and in that moment, I saw not just my grandson, but a young man trying to hold on to something, some sense of home, or maybe the comfort of what once was. I felt a sting behind my eyes. I hadn't realized I'd stopped offering those little comforts, not because I didn't care, but because part of me thought no one noticed anymore. But Ryan did. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For reminding me I'm still seen." He gave me a quiet smile. "Always." Later that evening, after he left, I sat alone at the kitchen table, my tea lukewarm in my hands. The house still felt quiet, but something was different. Warmer. Like someone had opened a window, and the air had shifted. It wasn't about the massage. It wasn't even about what was said. It was that, for the first time in a long time, I felt truly connected. Not just remembered, but known. And that feeling, that awareness, stirred something in me I hadn't felt in years. Sometimes, what we need isn't grand or dramatic. Sometimes, it's a simple gesture, a thoughtful question, a shared silence, that pulls us back into the present. That makes us feel alive again. Ryan offered to help. And in doing so, he reminded me of the parts of myself I thought were long gone. It's hard to explain that kind of feeling. But it stays with you. Long after the tea has cooled. Long after the door has closed. And maybe, that's what love looks like sometimes. Quiet. Patient. And waiting just on the other side of a kind offer.